He was giving them the business.
I wanted to do a quick deep dive on Bill Spaceman Lee. Are you familiar with him at all?
I'm not.
So he was a really good pitcher in the 70s. He was a left-handed kind of ground ball, Greg Maddux style pitcher. Won 17 games 3 years in a row. Went to the 75 World Series, the one with the famous Carlton Fisk doing this. He pitched 2 games, left both games with a lead. I think they ended up losing both those games, but he was the real deal. He had like 100. He had over 100 wins. He was like 119 wins. His ERA was in the 3s. He's a complete what's the word? Freak or free spirit. My dad was like, it's funny because I heard about him first from my dad. He's a legendary Boston character because he was on the Red Sox for 10 years and then he went to the Expos after that. But my dad's like, yeah, friggin' Spaceman Lee. He was a great pitcher, but he's always on the train talking to himself. He's a complete wacko.
I have heard about this. I've heard about this guy.
Schizophrenic nut. And that's what I thought of him growing up. That's all I had ever heard of him. But I looked into him. He's just like a liberal. He's not. He's not a schizophrenic nut. He's just like, he wants like, healthcare and shit. But
that's so funny.
He was real outspoken about smoking weed back then, like while he was in the league. In 1979, he didn't retire. We'll get into that in a second. But in 1979, he was on the cover of High Times.
Hilarious.
And he was like, yeah, I sprinkle weed on my buckwheat pancakes. It makes me, he claimed that smoking weed made him, helped him deal with the bus fumes when he would run on his way to the stadium, which obviously is a joke because there's no way he was jogging to work, but it still was pretty controversial.
Damn, he was going all out and like really fighting to smoke Reggie too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And he also stood up for ball players. Every time he got in trouble, it was over somebody else getting traded, not him. Like he was a Red Sox for 10 years. And after the Carlton Fisk, the Bucky Dent year, 1978, Bucky Dent hit a home run to send the Red Sox home in the, to go to it was between the Yankees and the Red Sox to go to the World Series. Yankees, it's a legendary home run. But in that series, there was a pinch hitter who hit 2 home runs to put the team ahead. He had an insane series, and then the Red Sox traded him. He was kind of an auxiliary player, but Bill Spaceman Lee is a real like for the team guy, and he thinks even if the guy isn't necessarily like a huge role coming up, you got to thank the guy by giving him a contract for his contributions. And he's like,
yeah.
So he went on TV and he's like, this guy's got a pregnant wife. He just bought a house in Boston. He busted his nuts for this team, and the best thing you guys can do is trade him. You're a disloyal, backstabbing organization. And then boom, he's gone. And then he goes to Montreal. And Montreal, they have a good team. They got Gary Carter, Spaceman Lee. They make the playoffs, 81. They have a guy who I can't remember his real name, but his nickname was like Cool Breeze. That was his nickname, baseball player. It was some guy who was a star that year who was really nonchalant. He was like a real chill dude, kind of an Aaron Rodgers temperament, like doesn't get too fired up. And they traded him because they thought he was lethargic. Because
turns out he's just a liberal.
He wasn't too fired up or whatever. And Bill Spaceman Lee saw this as dog whistle language and was like, oh, you're calling him a lazy, and he says it,
friend.
Yeah. And so he says our organization, is dumb and racist or whatever. And so then they fire him, but not only do they get rid of him, but they blackball him from joining any other team. He was still good. He was 10-10 that year, but he was still pretty damn good. He eventually ran for president in 1988, which everybody runs every 5 years. Some wacko runs for office and thinks it's a crazy idea, but pretty much.
Like Roseanne, Kanye, Paris Hilton.
Yeah. It's a standard move for a crazy person. But he ran as a joke though. His platform was based on this, he was a member of the Rhinoceros Party, and he ran on banning the DH, He ran on banning both guns and butter, which I don't need to have time to explain that to you.
I know guns and butter. Who do you think you're talking to?
He was like, I'm going to ban guns and butter because both kill. He wanted to ban dome stadiums and AstroTurf. He said if he was elected, he would bulldoze the Rockies so that Canada could have a few more minutes of sunlight. He won a few votes.
I would have voted for him. I'm if somebody's running on a purely baseball platform for the most part.
He also he ran for governor also in 2016. And you know what I like about this guy? He lives in the woods. He makes baseball bats now. By the way, he still plays semi-pro baseball at 72 years old.
Oh, beautiful.
He's the oldest person to ever win a professional baseball game as a pitcher. He hit a home run. I tried to find good footage of it. There's nothing good enough to play on here, but he hit a home run in a semi-pro game at like 68 years old.
I love seeing that. Like those videos of like Manny Ramirez or Roger Clemens pitching. Remember, I sent you that video probably like a year ago, Rafael Palmeiro hitting a bomb.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan was like pitching into his 60s. Yeah, no, it's awesome. But he ran for what I like. These guys, if you look at people of his ilk, these like eccentrics from the 70s and the 80s, they always end up going like, it seems like he would have ended up being a big Trumper guy or whatever, but he ended up being a big Bernie guy, and he ran for governor of Vermont and just mirrored Bernie's platform and ended up getting, he ran for a party he said he had never heard of until they gave him the nomination. But
he's like, what's the Nazi Green Party?
Yeah, exactly. Nationalism and socialism. So you guys are like patriotic socialists.
Yeah.
What's
the
But no, he's stayed a hippie his entire life. And there's great videos of him. The only thing is he really thinks he's the wittiest motherfucker alive. And he reuses lines. If you do, like, as I was doing this deep dive, I was watching video after video after video, and he's like a stand-up comic, and he really delivers the same lines over and over again and pauses for laughter every single time. And then if nobody laughs, he fills it up with his own laughter. But because he'll, like, one of his famous lines is they asked him when in the 70s, they said, how do you feel about drug testing in Major League Baseball? Or they said, how do you feel about complete drug testing in Major League Baseball? And he goes, let me tell you something. I've tested them all, but I don't think we should make that mandatory.
And he's like, huh?
Yeah. And
that's beautiful.
And they're like, how's it like? I mean, when you play baseball at age 68 and you're in these senior leagues, is the baseball any good? He goes, I am, but they aren't. Yeah, and then he just pauses for laughter. But he's a cool dude. There's a great video. I don't know. I unwind to woodworking videos. I love watching dudes or whatever make stuff out of wood. And there's a great video of him showing this reporter how to make a baseball bat. And they start from a maple tree and it ends as a bat. And it's one of the most relaxing, greatest videos I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, great pitcher, great personality. I love right now. He would not be controversial now because he was like controversial for being against the Vietnam War. He was controversial. And I saw a great one. I'll end on this too. There's a famous Boston hockey player, Phil Esposito. He was a legend. He played with Bobby Orr during their championship years in the 60s and 70s. And Phil is getting elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame, or into the New England Sports Hall of Fame, the same year Bill Spaceman Lee is getting. I hear an interview with Phil Esposito on a podcast, and he goes, I'm up there getting my award, and Bill Spaceman Lee gets an award before me. And out of nowhere, he says that he really appreciates what Colin Kaepernick did. And fuck did that stick in my craw. I said, what the hell does that have to do with a goddamn sports award? And I told him, I said, Christ, I disagree with you so much, I can't even talk. And I just love that Spaceman Lee is just like, whatever, man, you should smoke weed.
Yeah.
He's got like a Jimmy Buffett, like white goatee with an earring in. And I just love these old school football. I mean, he's literally never fit in. He would fit in now. He's kind of a Trevor Bauer, Kyrie Irving, Arian Foster, these guys who have brains. Anyway, I don't know. That's
great, dude. He rocks.
Yeah, Bill Spaceman Lee lives in the woods in Vermont now.
Shouts out Bill Spaceman Lee. Maybe if we can get him to sit down on his thing for a while, or if he even has a computer, that'd be dope to get him on.
Oh, I would love that. Last thing I'll say about him is that in his book, I have a book of his called Baseball Eccentrics that he wrote, which tells stories of all the crazy people who've ever played baseball, or, eccentric people. And he talks about people used to make fun of him for being from California. Obviously he's from California. He was born in Burbank and he was raised in Marin County. And, he talks in his book about how people said, there ain't nothing from California. It's a cereal state, ain't nothing but nuts and flakes, or whatever, fruits, nuts, and flakes. And it's in this book, and people were saying that to him in the 60s. And I had a guy say that to me at a gun range in Florida. I gave the guy my ID, and he goes, it has the state of California on it. He looks at me, and he goes, "Welcome to the United States of America." You could tell it felt like it was like, this is my moment. It's like his Tonight Show. Like he was so stoked to see a California ID and all these lines ready. And he goes, "How's life in California?" And I was like, I don't really make enough money to feel the consequences of the taxes, so it doesn't matter to me. And I'm sure you don't either. And he looked at me and he goes, well, they call it the cereal state. Like, like, that's not the line you were supposed to give me.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Ain't nothing but fruits, nuts, and flakes. And my dad hits me, goes, "Do you hear that? Nothing but fruits, nuts, and flakes."